Hello everyone! Welcome to the U.S. Immigration Hub News. In just a few short months into President Donald Trump's second term, immigration enforcement in the United States has been transformed into a sweeping federal operation unlike anything seen in recent decades. With over 100,000 arrests already made and thousands more happening each day, the machinery of immigration and customs enforcement is running at full speed. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it, so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. Let's break down what's happening and what it could mean for immigrants, families, and the country as a whole. To start with, federal data obtained by CBS News confirms that ICE has now surpassed 100,000 arrests since Trump returned to the White House. That's a dramatic increase compared to the 300 daily arrests recorded during the final year of the Biden administration. Today, some days are seeing over 2,000 arrests, a number more than 6 times higher. This isn't a coincidence. It's a mandate. Inside the White House, officials like Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, a well-known immigration hardliner, have explicitly demanded that ICE target at least 3,000 arrests daily. Miller's influence on immigration policy dates back to Trump's first term, but in 2025, he's operating with more freedom and urgency, and honestly, the numbers show that ICE is moving to deliver on those expectations fast. Right now, more than 54,000 immigrants are being held in ICE detention centers nationwide, and, the Trump administration wants that number to grow. Officials are asking Congress for billions of dollars in emergency funding, not just to hire more agents, but also to expand detention capacity to hold up to 100,000 people at a time. That includes proposals to convert military bases into detention camps, a move that's drawn fierce criticism from human rights organizations. What's especially alarming to immigrant advocates is the scope of ICE's new operations. Arrests are no longer narrowly focused on recent border crosses or individuals with criminal convictions. Instead, they're targeting longtime residents, minor children, and even those who were legally instructed to attend ICE check-ins. In major cities like Los Angeles, immigrants showing up for routine appointments have been detained on the spot and held in federal buildings with no beds, limited food, and no access to legal counsel. In one case, a family of 4, including a pregnant mother and a U.S. citizen child, was held in a basement overnight. The mother was only released due to medical necessity. ICE insists all actions are lawful, but the public backlash is growing. Meanwhile, viral videos are surfacing that paint a grim picture. There are crying children outside courthouses, construction workers lined up for questioning, and masked agents executing coordinated raids in neighborhoods. The optics are deeply troubling, especially in places like California, New York, and Illinois, states with large immigrant communities and policies historically at odds with federal enforcement. But Trump's crackdown isn't stopping at ICE operations. So a new crisis is unfolding over visa overstays in Boulder, Colorado. A horrifying firebomb attack injured a dozen people. The suspect, Mohammed Solomon, was an Egyptian national who overstayed a B-2 tourist visa and later applied for asylum. After the attack, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced a full-scale review of all temporary visa holders currently in the United States. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that visa enforcement would now be a top priority, with all overstays facing immediate scrutiny, removal proceedings, and possible prosecution. In response, Trump has reimposed and expanded a travel ban, now affecting 12 countries and partially restricting entry from 7 more. Among the newly affected are Afghanistan, Haiti, Sudan, Yemen, and Iran, nations already dealing with instability. Critics argue the bans are discriminatory, but the administration insists they are necessary to prevent future acts of terrorism. The reality, however, is sobering. In 2023, according to DHS data, 565,000 people overstayed their visas in the United States. Of those, more than 12,800 were Indian nationals on B1, B2 tourist and business visas. India's Ministry of External Affairs has confirmed that since the start of 2025, over 1,080 Indian nationals have been deported or returned voluntarily, the majority via commercial flights. Back in Washington, Trump has called for tighter vetting, including reviews of applicants' social media posts, affiliations, and online activity, especially those expressing anti-Semitic or anti-American views. Amid all this turmoil, one case has come to symbolize the high-stakes collision between immigration enforcement and due process, the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Abrego Garcia, a Maryland resident who fled gang violence in El Salvador, was mistakenly deported in March despite a court order protecting him from removal. ICE agents put him on a plane anyway, sending him to a high-security Salvadoran prison. The move was seen by many legal experts as a blatant violation of judicial authority. After months of legal standoffs, including a Supreme Court decision requiring his return, Abrego Garcia was brought back to the United States, not to be freed, but to face federal criminal charges. He's accused of transporting undocumented migrants across state lines, some of whom the government alleges were affiliated with criminal networks. The indictment paints a picture of a broader smuggling conspiracy dating back to 2016. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. The chief of the Justice Department's criminal division in Nashville resigned over the case. Several insiders said the prosecution felt politically motivated, more like damage control than justice. Democratic lawmakers like Senator Chris Van Hollen and Representative Pramila Jayapal criticized the government for violating Abrego Garcia's rights, accusing ICE of ignoring court orders and weaponizing deportation. Jayapal described it bluntly. He was kidnapped in front of his child and disappeared to El Salvador with no due process. Trump, however, stood firm on board Air Force One. He told reporters he should never have been here in the first place. We brought him back for prosecution. Period. And so the country finds itself in a strange legal limbo. The Supreme Court's order was deliberately vague. It said the administration must facilitate his return, but didn't specify a deadline. And while Abrego Garcia is now back in the United States, he may still be deported again, possibly to a third country. For now, he sits in federal custody, awaiting a hearing. But his story has become a lightning rod in the national debate. It touches on nearly every issue at the heart of today's immigration battle: administrative error, due process, political retaliation, and human rights. So what happens next? Trump's administration is showing no signs of slowing down. Arrests are ramping up. Deportation flights are increasing. The legal community is watching closely, and honestly, immigrant families across the nation are on edge. In courtrooms, in Congress, and on the streets, the tension between national security and constitutional rights is reaching a boiling point. Immigration, once just a policy issue, has now become a defining struggle for the future of American democracy. That's all we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration News Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas.